One of the biggest mistakes Spanish learners make is using verbs by their direct translation. And this applies to one of the most useful verbs in Spanish, which is pasar. Pasar is often taught to mean to pass, but that's only one small part of how pasar can be used. In everyday Spanish, pasar is everywhere. Native speakers use it to talk about time, experiences, things moving from one place to another, and asking what happened. Instead of thinking of pasar as having 10 different meanings, think of it as an idea that changes depending on the situation. Something moving from one place, moment, or experience to another. So let's go over the most common ways that natives use pasar and why this verb is so important if you want to sound more natural in Spanish. One of the most common uses for pasar is actually related to time. It can mean spending time somewhere with someone, but it can also be used to talk about time passing by. So some examples. Me gusta pasar tiempo con mi familia. I like spending time with my family. Pasamos la fin de semana en la playa. We spent the weekend on the beach. El tiempo pasa muy rápido. Time goes by really quickly. So whenever we're talking about time going by or moving forward, pasar is usually the verb that you need to use. Another extremely common use for pasar is to talk about something that happens. This is one of the most important meanings for pasar that you can learn because you'll hear it constantly. For example, very common question, ¿Qué pasó? What happened? ¿Qué pasó? This literally means what passed, but naturally it means what happened. Another example is no pasa nada, and that one can mean no worries, it's not a big deal, no pasa nada. Another example, ¿Qué está pasando? What's happening? ¿Qué está pasando? Algo raro pasó ayer. Something strange happened yesterday. Pasar can also mean to go through something or experience a situation. This can be something positive, negative, or just anything that happens in life. Estoy pasando un momento difícil. I'm going through a difficult time. Estoy pasando un momento difícil. Mi familia pasó por muchos cambios este año. My family went through a lot of changes this year. Mi familia pasó muchos cambios este año. Hemos pasado muchas cosas juntos. We've been through a lot together. So this is a really useful phrase with pasar por algo, to go through something. You'll hear this used for pasar all the time when people talk about challenges, experiences, or important moments in life. Another common use for pasar is when something moves from one place to another. This can be physically passing something to a person. So some examples. Me pasas la sal, por favor? Can you pass me the salt, please? Pásame tu teléfono. Give me your phone. Le pasé el documento a mi jefe. I gave the document to my boss. You'll notice that in this case, pasar is being used where in English you would normally use to give. But pasar can also mean moving past or stopping by a place. For example, pasé por tu casa ayer. I passed by your house yesterday. Pasé por tu casa ayer. Voy a pasar por la tienda antes de llegar a casa. I'm going to pass by the store before getting home. So in this way, a very useful phrase is pasar por, to pass by something. So depending on the context, it can mean pass by, stop by, or go through. So the last one I want to cover is actually a way that pasar can mean the exact same thing as English, which is to pass something. In this case, you're usually talking about tests, classes, or requirements. For example, pasé el examen de español. I passed the Spanish exam. Tengo que estudiar mucho para pasar la clase. I have to study a lot to pass the class. ¿Crees que voy a pasar la entrevista? Do you think I'm going to pass the interview? This meaning of pasar is one that many Spanish learners probably already know, but it's actually just one small part of this verb, which is extremely useful. So to summarize, pasar is much more than simply to pass. It can mean to spend time or for time to pass, to happen, to go through something, to pass something to someone or to pass by a place, or to pass a test, an interview, anything like that. This is why pasar is so important. Spanish speakers don't memorize 5 different meanings for pasar. They just use it naturally in different situations. So I hope you found this video helpful and that you'll start understanding and noticing the different uses for pasar, as it is an extremely helpful verb and you'll hear it all the time. Once you know it better, your Spanish speaking will become more natural and you'll begin to sound more fluent. Thank you for watching. See you next time.